Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to Nancy Drew Lights, Camera, Curses. Let's continue. So, I want to get it back to the journal when we get into the next point where I can do that to see what chapter we're in, whether we've crossed the halfway threshold. I think we've come to the hotel to go to a different person's. No, we're coming here to decode Naha Haja, which was on this poster. It said Naha Haja was the scientific name for a Egyptian cobra. It would be kind of cool, excuse me, if that was actually not the case. There's only 2, maybe 3, if this room is different than this room, scenes in the entire game. But that doesn't really mean too much because I suspect we are going to go back to places. And we are past the halfway point. We're at 15 and there's 26, so there's only 11 more chapters, and those chapters could be rather short as we're picking up the pace. We've done 3 of 4 mini games. And I heavily suspect that if I was to continue down the Nancy Drew Dossier series of games, these would all be the same. It's not uncommon in old point-and-click adventure games, the humongous games in particular, particularly the ones for kids like Freddy Fish or Putt Putt, for them to have almost exactly the same content in them and just a slightly different story, just reusing stuff. And even in modern games we still reuse a lot. You'll see explosive barrels that look exactly the same and are effectively exactly the same. This water feature is annoyingly loud. And gunplay mechanics and physics and even character models get reused, but usually on the AAA and AA level of video games they try to put an artistic spin on it to make it look unique and not super noticeable. So I guess we're looking at this to bring us into I'm thinking if the idea was it was a cobra. Oh, is it going to be simplistic? Do we just click on the cobra and grab it? No, I guess we click on this. Here they've reused a snake animation from the previous chapter, and it's pretty obvious that that doesn't match. Okay, so on the cobra is a second code. But if you had looked just thoroughly at the poster, you would have already seen this code, and you could have decoded everything, and you would have just had 6 chances of being wrong. Let's see. This says D. This says E. This says C. And there's 3 more letters. And if it starts D, it's not going to be December. It's decode. O. D. E. No. D-E-C-D. This doesn't feel like a word. That's not G. It's F. And this is... what is this? And we're still hearing the water fountain, annoyingly. Hey.
This doesn't make any sense. Wait, musical notes maybe?
D-C-D-F-A. I guess that would be musical notes. Kind of... They're kind of doing the mystery right, and if they had done more of this, where you got a clue and it didn't make sense, and then you had to decode every clue and actually be on
Someone put a snake.
a investigation, that'd be cool. But the problem is we're halfway through the game and we're just starting to now pick up into some action that's worth mentioning. And this probably is going to be a short experience because typically a chapter is done after you've had a conversation like this. Someone put a snake in Eda's locker.
Someone put a snake in Eda's locker.
Eda's.
Someone put a live snake in Eda's locker? She must have had a fit.
When I was in the reptile room.
And how would anybody get in that locker with all that code on it? I found a swizzle stick. That is true.
I found this swizzle stick.
Wait a minute. If you think I put that snake in Eda's locker, you're dead wrong. Although I applaud whoever did. Exposing her to snakes might help her get over that silly phobia she has.
That's
But
no
you're
way
pretty
to
much
get
the
over
only
a
person
phobia.
around here who drinks rattlesnakes, aren't you?
Yes, but I promise you I have not been in the reptile room in days.
What about the actress from the original Pharaoh movie?
Lois Manson. How did she end up with a poisonous snake? Again, wrong. The snake is not poisonous. The snake is venomous. And if this is supposed to be an educational game, they need to get their facts right. This is supposed to be a kid's game. Venomous creatures, I'll say it again, they have venom in their fangs, they bite creatures, and those creatures that can die from the venom. Poisonous things are like mushrooms, that creatures eat them, i.e. humans, and they're poisonous, some mushrooms are, and then they die from eating them. There's a big difference. I guess the only question really here is, do you remember Lois Manson's name? Because the rest of the sentence is the same, inaccurate as it is.
Lois Manson. How did she end up with a poisonous snake on the set?
That is a question no one to this day has been able to answer. Some people say the snake wrangler accidentally gave Lois a real asp instead of a non-poisonous black snake. Others say someone knowingly switched the snakes at the last minute.
Those
And
kind
some
of are
say
the only
Lois
two
herself switched
options.
the snakes because her unrequited love for the film's director had driven her mad. Or maybe she was simply a marked woman. Literally.
What do you mean?
I read somewhere that she had a strange birthmark on her arm. One that resembled the Egyptian hieroglyph that meant cursed. Probably just a Hollywood myth. But even a myth usually has some element of truth in it.
So now if we find this birthmark on Eda, then we will know that something weird is going on magically. The prop room that Molly McKenna keeps locked is security lock, is where you keep your reptiles, was broken into tonight.
Was broken into tonight.
That was
Don't
several
tell me you
chapters
found a
again.
rattlesnake swizzle stick in there too.
No, but I do know the thief.
Was wearing a hooded cloak.
I do know the thief was wearing a hooded cloak.
Sorry,
There is
my
that
hooded cloak is at
character,
the cleaners, but I suppose
Tatini,
you want to test my hands for traces of flash boom anyway, right? Detective Drew?
How did you know I'm a detective?
I heard someone talking over at the Casbah.
How did you know?
The thief blew up the flash boom. The thief caught the cat. The thief stole the flash boom. The thief is a private detective. And you would have to really, really not be paying attention at all to just randomly click half of these responses. They are so stupidly inaccurate. But I don't think the game would be improved any if it was very similar choices and you had to get every single detail right. I just don't think this sort of gameplay works ever in any game.
How did you know the thief stole the flash boom?
I just assumed that. I mean, it's the only thing in there worth stealing, right? Hey, speaking of the Casbah, that's where I'm headed. Join me?
No thanks.
Suit yourself.
That was weird. I should check out George's room. I'll need the security code to the penthouse, though.
So, yeah, there is a slight inconsistency you see here with reality, that Nancy Drew, this young girl detective, would be able to handle herself in these murder mysteries or nearly murder mystery incidences. It seems like it would be rather too easy for a suspect, if they're guilty, to as soon as they decide, grab Nancy Drew and, you know, strangle her to death or kidnap her or something. She needs a bodyguard or a dog or something that is threatening and protective of her.
I know. I can decrypt the camera's data chip to see George entering his code. I just need to turn off the camera first.
And so this myth of security cameras having data chips continues. And I guess you don't turn off the camera with the clock like you turn on the fountain with the clock. Let's see. This needs some kind of key. Let's look at this. Every single one of these is tilted. To further increase the security of your patrons, we've installed a tamper alarms on the security camera with the hotel. Anyone attempting to breach the casing of the cameras or tamper with the cables will set off an internal alarm and is a trigger a call to the police. Which, in all honesty, the police should be involved in this case a long time ago. A central service panel has been installed in the main lobby to access controls for this alarm. Please remind technicians to turn off the alarm at the service panel before doing any maintenance work on the cameras. Thank you, the management. And how much maintenance do you really have to do to your camera? So.
You have 1 new messages. To listen to your messages, please enter your 5-digit employee access code.
So we're gonna have to find the employee access code just lying about. Games like this really just show worlds where no security is considered at all. Sadly, the real world is kind of like that. People do tape passwords on their screens all the time. The clock controls the fountain. And what else are we trying to control? But it's even more unrealistic than the real world because keys are being hidden in fishes, with finding the fisheye that in the same room will give you a key to something. It's like people intentionally don't want things securely locked up. They just want to make people play some kind of game for it. Like the entire world is an escape room or something. Or a video game. There we go, finally. So we use this with this to turn off the fountain. Then we can look at the fountain again. And in the fountain is someone's badge. Like, why is someone's badge in the fountain? Who knows?
Hi, this is Jake from J&S Security Systems. So we got your cameras all serviced, but my technician told me that he misplaced that key you gave him to open the access panel in the lobby. Yeah, I'm real sorry about that. He said he asked the cleaning crew that was in the lobby with him that night, but none of them seemed to remember seeing anything lying around. I hope that's not going to cause you guys too much trouble. We'll keep our eye out and let you know if anything turns up on our end. Thanks.
Maybe the key that opens the service panel is still around here somewhere.
So we're doing research and trying to find the key. I guess it's under the carpet. And we'll use that with this to unlock the rocket. And in the rocket is a button to open a panel. And in this panel is something to turn off the camera. And now I can play a mini game. Let's see. Guess I have to open the camera first to get the memory card, then play the mini game. The HP iPac was a predecessor to cell phones in that it was a pocket PC. There was a whole bunch of pocket PCs, but the iPac was one I certainly had and broke on multiple occasions because they were super easy to break. Like, super easy. You drop it an inch on the table and the thing was kaput. You would never use it again. The screen's not really protected, far from the kind of glass and anti-scratch, what's the phrase, to like anti-crack technology that we have nowadays. Well, I just screwed that up. In fact, I probably just lost there, unless I beat this before I get to that point. That's going to be a lot of X's. Well, I guess you can get
There we go.
5. Screen buttons on the face is not something you do these days.
Aha! There's George entering his code.
The HP iPac, kind of amazing for what it could do in this day and age. But by modern standards, any cell phone will blow it out of the water. It had maybe 2 to 3 hours of battery life by default. Very slow processor, maybe 200 megahertz. Very few programs, and every program, instead of having like an app store, needed to be installed via a PC and pretty much needed to be paid for, because there were not very many free ones and they were pretty expensive. You needed a plastic stylus to use it. I do have some good memories of using it when I have it, but looking back, boy do I love cell phones nowadays. Chapter score, we got 6,950 and we got 5,000 bonus points. Let's continue. We still really haven't moved up, on this metric. This whole thing is a facade, and it's so obvious it's a facade that they didn't even balance the amount of score you could get. And so we're back to a hidden object thing where we are.
Whoa, a makeshift photography lab.
We're just gonna.
Shoot, the bulb burned out. How can I get another red bulb?
This looks almost exactly the same as the other hotel room we were in, which I guess isn't super surprising. Let's see, so we got a handle we can use at the minibar, we got a TV, we've got a remote, probably gonna need to find a battery somewhere. We've got a bulb here that we're gonna have to paint red. Put a lens on. We've got red pomegranate syrup. So it's not something as simple as those two. There's more of a combination here. In the boot is a credit card under the name Arthur Hitchens, which I believe is the name of the character that we're investigating. I guess if I really wanted to be certain, I would go back and look at the records. It's very strange. We had one audio record at the beginning and we have yet to find any others. That seems insane. There's only 10 more chapters after this too. This whole room is a bit of a mess, full of things that don't matter. There's one more thing in here. Nothing's like connecting. And those things interact. Maybe I do this with the minibar. Nope. Okay. So we use this with this to make it red. We use this with this to make a red bulb. So now we've got this red bulb, which is good and all, but I don't see. For service, please enter your credit card number. Uh-oh. How are you gonna make this kid friendly if you're putting in a credit card number into a TV in a hotel? Thanks for the payment. All services now available. What service did I need? Was it just so I could open the mini fridge? Wow. You actually did have to do that. Interesting. And then that goes in that. And we can see there's something new. Film. Well. This. There. This. With that. This. 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 So we're gonna have to basically figure out the process of processing film, which in modern days is kind of a forgotten art that you don't really need to know. Let's see. To develop the negative, remove the film from your camera, place it into the developer black bin, and then place it into the water, then place it into the fixer, the white bin. Yep. So we've got two more things. Telescopic camera for the lens, which I guess that goes there. To finish that, maybe we need that and that to work together. It seems insane to develop your own film in your hotel room when you're in the middle of Hollywood, and you could probably have a photography developer office established. See, faucet is stuck. I guess I need to do that or that. And then the water is now full, so I can do this with this, and then 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 this with that. With maybe that? I'm confused. Let's look again. Maybe I have to turn on something? Like, it seems like that would be the next step. I need to finish these prints. And the hairdryer doesn't do it, so do you wash it again? Do you go through the whole cycle again? Apparently you do. Is that really how that works? Who knows? I guess people that know how to develop film know, but I don't. So the only thing I guess you assume from this is he's taking photographs that he wants nobody else to see. And he doesn't have a Polaroid camera that would just instantly develop film like that. And he doesn't have a digital camera, which frankly you probably could have had a digital camera in whatever time period this is supposedly supposed to be set in.
Wow, all these are candid photos of Ida. That's a little creepy.
So now we know there is something magical going on here, or the snake handler is just totally crazy and he's throwing out a red herring. Because we see, we had already heard rumors that there was always somebody standing behind Ida and they thought it was a shadow when they were filming her. And now we see it was him trying to get a picture of this birthmark on Ida's back, which is supposedly the same birthmark that was on Lois Manson's back. So either Lois Manson is Ida, and she somehow just magically lived forever and not aged, or you're going to try to make some kind of magical argument that birthmarks are genetic. I guess this might also be a red herring, and it might just be that Ida, in her ditziness and an attempt to emulate Lois Manson, just had a tattoo added or painted on a birthmark. Find out where George is. There's a problem here. I don't even know where Nancy Drew should go. Like, should she talk to Molly? Should she talk to the guy on the left? Should she call the police when she has evidence?
No police. That is absolutely out of the question.
I guess that answers that.
Wonderful timing. A slight problem has arisen.
Ida's missing. She was supposed to meet us at the Casbah, but she didn't. I checked her room. She's not there. I called her agent. He hasn't heard from her. This just isn't like her.
And it isn't like you to be so worried about her.
I'm worried about the picture. All we have left to shoot are her scenes, Arthur. If she isn't on the set tomorrow, we are toast.
Since you put it that way, perhaps you should drop whatever it is you're doing and look for her.
So just quit.
Do you have any idea why George Jackson?
Just quit investigating and just find this girl, like a production assistant would probably be asked to do. The story really bounces back and forth between, is Nancy Drew being a detective or is Nancy Drew being a production assistant? If this was supposed to be the first case Nancy Drew ever handled, and she actually was a production assistant and just got curious and investigated everything on her own, and then after this game she was the famous detective, that would have been fine. But the way this is playing off, it's just wasting a detective's time. So we need to give more information to suspects. Let's see. Would be feeding the black cat, would be taking pictures of Ida on the sly, is following Tatatina. This girl Tatatina, and I'm not pronouncing that at all correctly, keeps getting mentioned, but she's not here. We still kind of have some evidence that he might be feeding the black cat, but that doesn't really pertain to the important information right now. It doesn't make sense that that would be important information.
Why George Jackson would be taking pictures of Ida on the sly? You know, without her knowing it?
That makes no sense. He spends all day with Ida on the set. Why would he secretly be taking pictures of her?
I don't know, but he's got a ton of them in his room.
That's sick.
Is George?
Still at the Casbah, still on the set, still giving his interview, still in the editing room, still trying to get into the prop room. He said he was going to be in the Casbah.
Is George still at the Casbah?
To my knowledge, he was never there. At least not while we were waiting for Ida to show.
Yep.
And we were there.
It seemed pretty obvious
That's
that
odd.
George
He said
was
that's where he was
gonna
going.
try
Ida's
and
missing.
kidnap
George is missing.
Nancy
George
Drew.
has been stalking Ida. I'm getting a little creeped out here. Arthur, we really should.
No police.
Then go over to the Casbah and keep your ears open. Listen for the
Like,
latest gossip. on
even
Ida.
the
It's
player
time to figure
knows
out
that the
where
right
she is.
response is we should call the police,
Quickly.
and they're having to respond to that. Of course, you could just in California say the police have been called. They'll be here in an hour and 20 minutes. Like, it would be a very realistic response if Molly said, I called the police and they said until she's missing for 48 hours, all they can do is send some patrolmen over, and it would take over an hour. And then you could just say, well, that's too long. We'll investigate in the meantime. Because storyline wise, we're almost certainly going to finish this whole story in less than an hour of game time. Will probably take more than an hour of actual real world time to finish this story, but well, another chapter done, and we are making progress, but this really is just a short tale. I imagine there would be a lot more happening in a real Nancy Drew story than this. Like, this feels like it could have easily been said in less than 30 pages, less than even 100 pages for what we've actually done. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.